Leave it to South Park to make a thought-provoking statement about preserving your soul with a masturbation joke. Just a few weeks after taking aim at Donald Trump, the infamously offensive, crudely drawn animated series extended its carnage to the rotten culture Trump 2.0 has brought us. This came presumably in response to parent company Paramount bowing to the presidency by canceling The Late Show with Stephen Colbert to finalize its billion-dollar Skydance merger. Got a Nut, the second episode of Season 27, wraps up everything. Manosphere podcasters, Jubilee debates, ICE raids, rising living costs, and even a nod to our death by 1,000 monthly subscriptions. Oh, and Superman's dog Crypto gets shot down over a Mar-a-Lago that looks exactly like Fantasy Island. South Park is back in more ways than one, with its signature libertarian venom aimed squarely at a political faction that arguably deserves it most. Because if we don't call this out, we're doomed. Episode 2 begins with Clyde overtaking Eric Cartman as South Park Elementary's resident provocateur. Clyde has made a name for himself in the manosphere as an obnoxious podcast host, dropping truth bombs on women, black people, abortion, and the Jews between sweaty gulps of sponsored health supplements. Cartman is absolutely livid that someone has stolen his shtick. Watching him blow a gasket over hashtag respect Clyde's authority is easily one of the episode's funniest moments. Meanwhile, Mr. Mackey gets fired as school counselor due to widespread budget cuts. Since a monthly nut, as Clyde calls it, is more expensive than ever, Mr. Mackey accepts a job with ICE, taking orders to round up Mexicans under Kristi Noem. Speaking of barking, creators Matt Stone and Trey Parker are clearly disgusted by Noem, depicting her as a trigger-happy puppy murderer with a sentient, detachable face that requires a team of plastic surgeons to fix her up like a Formula One pit crew. These two plots collide at Mar-a-Lago, overseen by the new Saddam-flavored Donald Trump. South Park seems determined to run with their new Trump as a hedonistic dictator until their feet bleed. The Florida resort is straight-up Fantasy Island, with J.D. Vance as Tattoo, a genius take that will probably fly over South Park's sizable Gen Z audience. Where the Season 27 premiere felt freshly ripped from the headlines, this second episode takes broader swipes at our current cultural moment, rather than any single news story. We're mercifully spared from hearing more about Sydney Sweeney's genes, though my gut tells me that's a sleeping giant waiting to wake up. Still, South Park is determined to keep up its momentum as one of the few outspoken critics of the Trump regime still standing. It doesn't matter that South Park was never part of the hashtag resistance and has gleefully irritated liberals and leftists for decades. What matters is that South Park still has daggers for teeth. At a time when mainstream Democrats are too scared to offend anyone, let alone the opposition, it's refreshing that South Park can, and when provoked, will. Now, call me crazy, but I have to ask, is South Park turning Eric woke? These last 2 episodes have planted seeds for a major shift in the show's mascot. For decades, Cartman has been the avatar of ironic TV, a literally 2-dimensional cartoon character whose outrageous appeal comes from being so awful, so abrasive, and so immature that you can't help but love him a little. The one constant in South Park has always been that Eric Cartman is out for himself. Even Kenny's million deaths haven't stuck the way Cartman's self-serving schemes have. Cartman was born into a world where offending people wasn't the norm, but now it is. His notoriety came from the fact that you didn't see or hear people talk like Eric Cartman outside Comedy Central. There was even a time when Cartman began to feel outdated, becoming a relic of late 90s edginess. 28 years later, everything has changed. People do talk like Eric Cartman now, and they've even become president. While I don't expect Cartman to suddenly advocate for trans rights, women's bodily autonomy, or properly funded public education, stranger things have happened in South Park. Cartman's whole thing has been to be the needle sticking out from the board. So what happens when others steal his thunder? How do you resist the flow when the flow is going your way? Cartman might have been listening to NPR for the wrong reasons, but he still wants them on the air. I'm starting to think that Cartman and all of South Park might go woke, at least on their own terms, for no reason other than it will offend some people. And honestly, that would be a masterstroke. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like and subscribe for more content like this.